What are the assets under your management? I'm not just talking about financial assets either. I want to talk to you about something that has really challenged me recently. And I'm going off the cuff just a little bit because I really have felt God talking to me about this over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to be referring to my notes periodically because I don't want to miss anything that He has shared with me that He wants me to pass on to you. The first thing he did was he showed me Philippians 1:12, where it says, "Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me actually served to advance the gospel." And what that spoke to me was that as long as we are alive and breathing, we're going to be learning. And what this verse also says is that each of our stories, your story, my story, it's a one of a kind story that unlocks the possibilities in others. So if you can learn from things that I'm currently learning or have learned in the past, it can shine a light on your path and make it so much easier. And if you can think of your learning lessons in that way, it just makes them a little harder to handle, right? Because we don't know everything. And this side of heaven, there's no way for us to know it all. So if we haven't met before, I'm Melissa Schultz, and I am with Melissa Schultz Ministries. I help women break through the things that hold them back and keep them from walking out their assignment and getting in alignment with God. And hey, I mean, let's face it, he lets me keep learning lessons that I can then pass along and share with you. So, what we are talking about today is assets under management. But like I said, it's more than just finances. And before you shut this off, I want you to hear me out because sometimes, at least for me, when it comes to finances, sometimes I just want to pull the covers over my head. I don't always know what's the best option, what's the best thing to do. And if you've ever asked yourself, uh, like how am I this many days old and I still struggle with this? Well, I'm in your boat. I find it frustrating sometimes and it can just plain be overwhelming. So stick around. I don't want you to lose heart. There are so many things that can come into play with why we believe what we believe or why we do what we do. Sometimes it might just be learned behavior. Sometimes it might be something that someone spoke over your life. It could be the enemy trying to keep his thumb on you and keep you down and out so that you can't hear God clearly. There are a number of things that can be coming into play. And that's where working with someone like me can really be helpful because we can spot those things and help you clear it quicker. Okay. But while I'm someone still on the learning journey, and so are you, um, I'm on the learning journey of business or of like finances and budgeting. And I didn't always know how to do it or what to do. It left me feeling overwhelmed. I felt sometimes like there wasn't enough to cover everything that we wanted to do or needed to do. And I know that I had completely unhealthy thoughts and ideas about it, and they were lies, lies from the enemy that kept me from experiencing all of God's best that He had for me. And so I just decided that I had had enough and that I was going to do my very best because if I'm not willing to learn to do better with what God allows me to manage, then why would He trust me to manage more? And that's when I had the aha moment. So I want you to think about the fact that everything is God's. Absolutely everything is God's. He is the source of everything, and everything else is a resource. Okay. So if you need to pause this and ask God about that, I would like you to do that. But I want you to really get that concept. He is the source, everything else is the resource. And I mean, why would you put someone in charge of your resources if they aren't going to pay attention and if they aren't willing to invest in doing better? And I think we're all familiar with that story in the Bible about the man who gave out the talents. One of the three men buried his talents, and the other two actually doubled what they were given. And it's called the parable of the talents, and you can find it in Matthew 25 verses 14 through 30. So we need to remember that all of it is God's, all of it, our time, our talents, our money, and any other resource that we have. And if He is the source and everything else is the resource, then God gives out resources according to our abilities. And He expects us to invest them wisely until He returns. So we are responsible to use what God has given us. The issue isn't how much we're given, but how well we use what we've been given. Does that make sense to you? And here's the thing, we can make excuses like the guy that buried his talent and he didn't make a profit like the other two. The two that actually took a chance and invested theirs and grew what they were given, God rewarded them with more because He knew that He could trust them. The one man that didn't do anything but bury the talents or the treasure, he was judged for his self-centeredness. We have to be obedient. We have to be willing. And we are the caretakers, not the owners. So let's keep going with that theme. So, what God has trusted you with, can He trust you with more? We have to take a serious look at how we've managed our resources. And in a book, and this is where this all comes together. In a book I just finished reading called Simple Money, Rich Life by Bob and Linda Lodick, they refer to assets under management, or AUM, assets under management. The AUM is one number that conclusively tells you how you're doing financially. It shows you what's really going on with your money instead of what you think or hope is going on. And I loved that concept because it made me look at the fact that it's all God's. And if it's all assets and they're God's assets and they're under my management, how well am I doing? And the reason that I got this book, and it looks like this, the reason that I got this book was because I wanted to do a better job with managing the money that God gives me. So, and it's a great book, by the way. I would recommend it. Highly recommend it. But I'd like to take that concept of assets under management a bit further, and to say that if we can agree that everything is God's anyway, then the children that He has given us were His first, right? And we are the managers that are to love those children. We're to care for them. We're to guide them. And we are to teach them about their Heavenly Father. They are under our management. The home that He has given you, well, you need to properly take care of it. You need to keep it clean, keep up with the repairs, make it inviting and welcoming to build community, since He calls us to, live in community. You can take anything that's under your care, your automobile, make sure that the maintenance is done on a regular basis, that you're, taking care of it and being careful with it. You're managing God's asset. So, what other assets do you have under your care? Do Do you need to rethink about the things that you have because they are God's ultimately? He's just got them on loan to you and you are managing his assets. And when I took some time to think about this and talk to God about it, I realized that he has put beautiful relationships in my life, that he allows me to advise and coach people because I take good care of them. He can trust me to guide them in a godly way. And our home has always been a place of community. Um, it's been a place of laughter and rawness. It's been a place of healing. It's been a place of tears. But it is absolutely joy filled. And I think that's because when he has placed people under my care, I've I've really tried to do my best. And therefore he has trusted me with more people in the work that I get to do with my ministry. And that truly brings me joy. He wants you to have joy in the things that you do, the things that you're going to co labor with him on. He wants those to be joyful for you. So that's part of getting an assignment, or getting in alignment with your assignment, I like to say. So I digress a little bit, and I want personally to pay better attention to the financial assets that he's put under my management. And that's going to be another step in my growth journey. So we might be talking about things like budgets and managing assets, if you will. It's frustrating sometimes. And, God can tell us something. We can have a knowing in our spirit, like I have for the last almost 4 years. And I I have challenged God. Recently, this weekend, I was talking to him about if he wanted me to be doing something different. And one of the things that I was doing for a while was, God, do you want me to get a job? And it would be outside of my ministry, it would be outside of my coaching. And all I heard was, no, stand still. Well, I didn't have any proof of this knowing. I didn't have any concrete proof that the world would say, "Oh, she's spot on." I just had this inner voice, this inner knowing, and so my husband and I have been standing on that and believing for that and trusting in that, and it's been scary. It's been um, peaceful, and then sometimes not peaceful, if I'm really transparent. So this weekend I was saying to him, God, I am willing to stand. I am willing to wait. But it has been so long. And I heard him say, dare I say it out loud, if you really want it, I will let you, but it is not my best for you. And so I want us to really be thinking about hearing from God. And if you need help with that, please, please, please reach out. Please reach out. It's important that we build that relationship with him so that we can discern what he's saying to us. And as he and I were kind of having this conversation, I realized he has set me up that I get to have what he calls divine appointments. And I love my divine appointments. When I randomly run into somebody, I get to have a conversation. Sometimes it's a couple hour prayer intercession for someone. Those divine appointments are from God. I don't decide them, I don't make them up. He does. And they're an honor. Sometimes it's with my grandson, and I get to have a divine appointment of just hanging out with him and doing silly things. I don't want to give up those divine appointments. And God knows that. He knows my heart, He knows my spirit. And so I encourage you that if God has given you a knowing, stand in that knowing. There are evil forces, Satan's little minions, that try to keep things from coming to fruition, but God needs warriors. And I am going to encourage you to be a warrior. And if you need help with that, I would invite you to go check out the Kingdom Breakthrough community because it is filled with warriors. And we are um, always looking for God's guidance, His wisdom, and His discernment. And so I would like to encourage you to bring this full circle, to seek Him and ask Him, what do you think those assets under your management look like? What are the things that maybe He's given you to manage that maybe you need to just do better? And you realize that. Please, please do not feel shame. Shame and condemnation belong to the enemy. That is the enemy's voice. God will point something out and encourage us. And so when you grab a book, maybe it's this book to learn more about being better with the financial asset that He's given. That's a God thing. That's God's voice speaking to you. So again, I just encourage you, if you're looking for a community to grow and thrive, head on over to melissaschultzministries.com and check out our community. And there's other resources over there too that I would encourage you to check out. So let me know below, what are the assets that you didn't think about as being assets under your management? And what do you think about this concept of God being the source and everything else being the resource? Is that a new concept to you? Can you get on board with it? Let's have a discussion about it, because I feel like this was such an aha moment for me that I am excited to explore that more. And frankly, it's made me look at the things that we own in a whole different way. And that they're not really mine. I'm just managing them. And if He's trusted me to manage something, then I need to do a good job with it. I want to honor Him in the way that I manage it. So go head over to Melissa Schultz Ministries after you comment below about the assets under management concept. Thanks for staying with me.